Good morning, everyone. I hope you all are doing extremely well and you're having a very awesome Tuesday after the long weekend, and that you all had a very blessed Easter weekend. So, first of all, recap on last time. The first things first is today you guys can see me. So that is a brilliant start to what we do. I just quickly want to check if anyone can just give me a thumbs up or anything. The sound quality, everyone can hear me well. Okay. All right. So today's session is going to be about the three most commonly used investments out there, and I thought it would be a very good recap or a refresher to tell everyone exactly why they venture into a specific investment, why they're using the vehicle, and then as well as to look at how you can make the investment work for you. Because I mean, if you enter into the wrong vehicle, sometimes it can happen that you use it for the wrong reasons or you might not understand the rules. So these investments, a lot of you watching out there might have one of these already in place. So let's get starting. The three that we're going to use is the first one is the tax-free investment. Then we're going to do the retirement annuity, and then we're going to look at the discretionary investment. Before we carry on, please remember the chat is live. You can send me questions there. I am on my emails as well as WhatsApp. So if any of you would like to ask me anything as we go along, just raise your hand, send me an email, and we'll get to that. This is a very informative session, so I would love for you to participate. All right, so let's start with the tax free investment. And this is now an investment that a lot of you, well, let's say it's almost like a buzzword the last 4 to 5 tax seasons. And a lot of people are jumping on the back bandwagon because the first thing that they hear is tax free. Now, I think it's important that we first look at the rules about the tax free. And last week we had a we had a question where someone said, "Can I have more than one tax free?" And then the answer was yes, you can, but it's important to understand the rules. So the first thing is you are not allowed to put more than 36,000 rand into your tax free investment. Now that's per tax season. So from the 1st of March until the 28th of Feb, you are only allowed to contribute 36,000. Way back, it started with 30,000. Now they've upped it gradually to 36,000 Rand. And you can either do that by lump sum or by putting in monthly installments. Now, the other rule that they've put in place is you are only allowed to put 500,000 Rand over your lifetime into this account. And I'm putting the emphasis on the into because a lot of people out there also think that now, once their tax free has grown to 500,000, they're not allowed to put anything into it anymore. No, you can put 36 per annum and 500,000 Rand over your lifetime. Now, after that, this investment can grow to wherever it wants to. Now, why is it important to remember the rules that they've put in place? Is the moment you go over that 36,000 Rand or 500,000, they are going to penalize you 40%. Now that's 40 cents to the rand, and that is a massive knock. So going back to how many tax frees you can have, as many as possible, just remember to keep it under the 36,000 rand. Otherwise, you're going to be penalized. All right. So the one thing that I also want to touch on when looking at a tax-free investment is, and maybe not necessarily use it for a short term, because wealth is created over time. And compound interest, the eighth wonder of the world, your investment needs time for compound interest to start working. Now, when you enter into a tax-free investment and you use it for pure savings, I think we might miss out on the massive advantage that your investment will have come 15, 20, 30, 40 years from now. Because the major thing about a tax free investment is once you withdraw from it or you start withdrawing from it, it's also tax free. And when we touch on the retirement annuity later, you will see why I say that having a tax free investment combined with the retirement annuity can actually be the perfect combination towards long term retirement planning. Specifically, if you stay in South Africa and you're within this jurisdiction where you're going to pay tax. Okay, so now I've done a few calculations, and if you start investing, so let's say you start with a tax-free investment today, you're going to be contributing your 36,000, and it's going to take you roughly just less than 14 years to fill up that 500,000 rand mark. Now I've done a quick illustration of what your investment could be now within the next 14 years, 36,000, and the assumption that I took was if we can grow your money by 10% per annum, you're going to have roughly just over a million within your tax-free investment come 14 years from now. Now, the massive benefit comes in now to actually take this lump sum and just leave it there within the vehicle so that it stays tax-free. And if you can then leave that investment for a further 20 years, your future value that this investment can grow to, once again at a 10%, we're looking at 6.1 million. Now, I'm emphasizing once again on the future value because the quick question you might ask me is, yeah, but what is it worth in today's value? So I've worked it back and took an inflation of 6%. Once again, all of these are scenarios and assumptions. You can go and play around with it, and you will see there's different scenarios that's going to pop up. But if we work on a 6% inflation and we work it back to today's value, you're going to sit roughly with just about 1.8 million in today's terms. Now, think fast forward to age 65. Your debt is supposed to be covered, kids are out of the house. Now, all of a sudden, you're sitting with an investment in today's value that is worth 1.8 million. Now, the rule of thumb is if you withdraw 5% from your investment with an annual growth then of 10%, you will not be depleting your capital. Now, 5% drawdown on this investment. And remember now, this is tax free. You're looking at 7,500 Rand per month that you can withdraw without touching your capital. Now, depending on your health and where you want to be and how your portfolio is constructed and where else you've placed some of your investments, this 7,500 tax free is almost compared to an 8,500 or 9,000 Rand retirement annuity if you include tax into that. And therefore, I feel that the major benefit for having this investment is actually going to be more long term than just your short term type of idea. And I'm mentioning that as well because a lot of people open up a bank tax free investment so that they can quickly put something in, and then when they want to go on holiday, they take that out again. And then I feel then we're going to miss the opportunity of this tax-free investment. I'm going to take a sip of my coffee. Is there anyone that would want to ask anything about the tax-free before we go to the retirement annuity? Right. Just quickly check on this side. Okay. Right. So let's move on to the retirement annuity. Now, first of all, it's important once again to understand the rules of the retirement annuity because in the past, I have come across a few clients where they tell me, yeah, they've got an existing investment with company X, Y, and Z, and they would want to know if they can withdraw from it because they're contributing monthly. And then we're going to have a look and we see that it's a retirement annuity. And then I have to break the news to them that, no, sorry, you can't because the moment your retirement annuity is above 7,000 Rand within your fund value, you are not allowed to touch it until the age of 55. Then you retire from the fund, and then there's also specific rules that come into play where you are only allowed to access one third, the other two thirds needs to be reinvested into a living annuity. So the whole plan in the beginning was missed if someone doesn't understand the rules of a retirement annuity. Now, is there still a place for a retirement in today's age? Definitely. I still believe that once again, it's one of the best vehicles for long term and retirement planning that one can have out there. So, therefore, I will never say that a retirement annuity, there's no space for it, but it's important to understand the rules so that you don't open up the wrong investment vehicle. Now, another big benefit of a tax-free of a retirement annuity is the deduction that you can use annually. Now, 27.5% of your total income can be used as a deduction. But now I want to take a few minutes just to stop there and explain again, how does this deduction work? Because you do get some advice out there where people go and say, you know what, put 5,000 Rand a month in and you will be able to claim all of that back from SARS. And then the client, only thing that he hears is, if I put 5,000 Rand in, I'm going to get 60,000 Rand out back into my pocket. And that's not exactly how it works. The key thing there is deduction. You can then use that 60,000 Rand or 100,000 Rand or 27.5% of your total income that you've used. You can use that as a deduction on the income that you have earned for the year. So where the key difference comes in is, now let's say, for an example, you've earned 1 million for the year and you've contributed 120,000 Rand within your retirement annuity. Now, what SARS does is then they go and see they've taxed you on 1 million worth of income that you've earned. And when you do your tax returns, you can use that 120,000 as a deduction. They take that from the 1 million, and now they say, okay, we have taxed you on 1 million. We should have taxed you actually on, what's that, 880,000. Therefore, based on your marginal scale, we've taxed you too much on 120,000. So here's your percentage back. So please keep that in mind, that this is an amazing benefit, but you need to understand how it works so that when you fit it into your budget, that it actually falls in line with what you want to achieve. I just quickly want to check here if we don't have a few questions coming in here. Right. Okay. JP Conradi, he says that at Ashburton, you pay dividend tax on tax-free savings accounts if they declare dividends. JP, I'm not 100% sure. We will go and have to have a look at that because dividend withholding tax is then paid within the company. The client is not supposed to pay dividend withholding tax within a tax-free investment. But I'll definitely get back to you on that one. So let's go back to the retirement annuity. So where we said, okay, so you can use that as a deduction. Now, the important thing comes in at retirement when you have to take 1/3, 2/3. So what happens to the 1/3 up to 500,000? You can withdraw tax free. Now, this is sometimes a discussion that we have to go into with clients to say that, should I take the lump sum? Should I take the 1/3? It depends on what we're going to do with it. Because remember, within a retirement annuity, your money is growing tax free. So therefore, it's important that we don't withdraw money and go and put it into something that's gonna attract tax again. So the discussion is always going to have to be there between either you and your financial advisor, or between spouses, to really go and sit and think, what do we want to do with this, and not just at retirement see it as, you know what, we can take 1/3 and that's going to be awesome for us, and then we can go on a very nice holiday with it, or anything like that. So that's always going to be a discussion. But what happens then with the 2/3? All right, now that is going to be placed into a living annuity or a life annuity. And there, a client will then decide, is he going to earn a specific income until the day that he dies? And there's a lot of terms and conditions and rules regarding that as well, where one needs to make 100% sure, when you put it into a living or life annuity, that the life annuity is then, or the living annuity is then where you get the income for life. But what happens to it if you actually pass on? Can your spouse inherit that? And then the other option is, you can take 2.5% to 17.5% annually. Once again, this is where you need to sit with your advisor and make sure that you do not deplete your capital too soon. Back to what I said on the tax-free investment is, if you've got a drawdown of 5% and growing at 10%, you're not going to go into your capital. And then the longevity of your money is going to stretch, because we don't know how long we're going to live for. So therefore, we need to make sure that we are always in line with what can we draw and how much has our money grown do the review and establish how much can you go further. And there's a lot of tools out there. We've got a very nice tool here at Harbor Wealth in our dashboard we can play around with literally hundreds of scenarios when we do get to retirement to see how much can I withdraw, what's going to be beneficial for me, as well as how soon am I going to deplete my money. All right. And then back to if we then combine these two, the tax-free investment and the retirement annuity, now you can see all of a sudden two investments, both growing tax-free, but it can really supplement each other because what we're losing out on the one side of the tax, because yes, in a retirement annuity, the income that you withdraw is going to be taxed very nicely. Okay. Then let's quickly see if there's any questions that's come in on this side. Okay. And on the emails, anyone that would want to ask anything on a retirement annuity? I think it's very straightforward and self-explanatory. Just a quick note on that as well, for especially the younger clients. The way that I advise is if you're currently with a company where you've got your company employee pension plan or provident plan that's currently running, then your available budget for long term, I would say the one area of your vehicle you're already contributing towards retirement within your pension or provident fund. So therefore, I would focus on filling up the tax-free as soon as possible, so that you don't fall into the trap of having your existing employee pension and provident and then contributing into another retirement annuity, whereas your tax-free might be sitting dormant and you haven't started with that. Just quickly on the pension and provident, thinking about it now, it's very, very important that when you do resign and you move from one company to another, please contact us. Make sure that we go and preserve that and don't cash that out, because the 500,000 that I spoke to you about earlier, that exemption that you get on the 1/3, if you start withdrawing from a pension or provident fund, you are already depleting that 500,000 that could benefit you at the end of the day. All right. One last quick look. We've got any questions? Okay, let's then move on to a discretionary investment. Now, what is a discretionary investment? Basically, the word says it's at your discretion. Before I carry on, my coffee is going to get cold. At your discretion, you can do any kind of investment. In simple terms, I call this my as and when investment. I put in as and when I want to, and I withdraw as and when I want to. Now, the discretionary investment is let's call it your most expensive investment vehicle when it comes to tax, because you will be paying capital gains tax, dividend withholding tax will be paid within the investment. Depending on what you are invested into, it will attract interest exempt, not an interest bearing tax is going to be on all of that. But the moment someone hears that there's going to be tax involved on an investment, they run away and they say, you know what, this might not be for me. But it's important to remember that they have given us exemptions. So on the first 40,000 Rand of a gain within a tax year, you will get an exemption. So on 40,000 Rands worth of gain, the capital gains, you won't pay tax on that. Dividend withholding tax, exactly the same. There we get a 20% dividend withholding tax. And you pay 20% dividend withholding tax. Once again, the company where you are invested into, they are responsible to pay over that dividend withholding tax to SARS. So clients, you don't need to stress about it, but it is happening within your investment. So it's important that you understand that as well. I sometimes get a lot of people to say, you know what, but the investment has done this. I'm invested into a specific fund and it's done this. And after I don't see the real growth within my investment. Then you need to go and look at all these type of different things that could have been deducted. That's why it's important when you do your review as well to have a very in-depth session of going through your statement and making sure that you understand all the lines. And then the last exemption that one gets is an interest exemption, and it's currently sitting at 23,800 per annum. So once again, uh, younger investors, younger clients, when you start investing into one of these discretionary investments, it is going to take you quite some time before you get over these exemptions. So when your investment has grown by more than 40,000, or your money market account that you've opened up for yourself has grown by more than 23,800 per annum. But the reason why I'm emphasizing that and mentioning it is because over the long term, this might bite you. Because now, if you go into a discretionary investment at the age of 25 and you keep on contributing into that to see that as your long term one, now eventually, when you get to the age of 50, 60, or so forth, and you start withdrawing from it, or you want to cash it all out, then you might be clapped hard on capital gain tax. So it's important to always have a plan, stick to the plan, and then make sure how the tax is going to involve what you would want to achieve with your investment. Um, uh, you'd get different types of discretionary investments. If we focus a little bit there on the risk category, typically your discretionary investment is not going to have a very long term view, but therefore we need to go back to what is your risk category and where does it fall in line with what we want to achieve with the investment. Now, normally we say between 1 and let's say 2 to 3 years, then we're going to go conservative with your money. The asset classes that we're going to be exposed to is more cash and bonds. And then from a 3 to 6 year, we're looking a little bit more at moderate. So we're going to have more market exposure, going to have multi asset classes, exposure to all the different ones. And then 6 years and longer, one can comfortably go into an aggressive portfolio, aggressive fund, a model solution, whatever you are comfortable with. Okay, guys, when you set up discretionary investments as well, that can be your local as well as your offshore platform. It's important to discuss these type of um, investment vehicles one would want to go into. It's very important to make sure that your plan is in line with the vehicle that you choose. And then the ultimate goal would be to see that if you've got your offshore discretionary, is it also then within maybe a tax haven? Is it in line with your South African tax? And making sure that when you want to start withdrawing from it, or when you're unfortunately passed on, there's no nasty surprises. Okay, that's what I basically have in a nutshell on a discretionary investment. I just quickly want to check here. Is there anyone that would want to ask anything on discretionary? Anything that anyone would want to ask on a discretionary investment? Going into emails. I'm going to give it a minute or two. Okay, there we go. Right. Education policy. So, can one start an education policy? Now, back in the day, I would say that your typical life company, they all had education policies, and then they labeled it an education policy, and it was a very popular thing because then clients went into it and they saw it as this is their kids' education policy. But now with your new generation, and basically how I approach it and the whole of Harbor Wealth, our view on it is we go into a discretionary investment and we can just label it your kids' education. So you can maybe say, this is John's education fund. And it's not cost effective. It's not put into an endowment where there's certain rules within that vehicle as well. Where this is a normal discretionary investment, so we don't call it an education policy anymore. It's a discretionary investment that we open up, and then we just label it John's education fund. And then it can be used for anything, whether it's for John's education fund one day, or if you're in the position to fund that yourself and it can be given as a gift and so forth, then you have it there. So that's yeah. So do you get education policies? Yes, but it's not labeled like that anymore. That's old generation. It's very costly. We look at the new ones. Hello, Yolanda. Uh, she had a wave there at us. Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate it. Let's see. Let's see who else. There we go. So if anyone out there, all the ones looking or tuning in, if you can maybe give me a wave, would love to know who's currently watching during this lockdown period. This is fun times that we're in, but it's challenging times as well. And that's why I thought, what, starting this live YouTube channel is a very nice way for me to interact with my clients, because this is the only way that we can quickly all get the same message out there, but also still feel that we are not alone. Oh, there we go. We've got Tianis Efting. So we've got some global participants as well. Tianis, welcome. Hope you enjoyed it all the way in the Netherlands. That's also the fun thing about technology, is we can literally reach anyone all across the world to join in and have. There we go, Pakamani. Thank you for joining in. Appreciate it. Lovely to have all of you here. Before I wrap it up, guys, I would really like to thank everyone for the participation. And hi there, Luan. Nice to see Luan and his whole team is in the special services, so they so they get to see the outside world a little bit more than most of us do. So there we go. Lovely to have all of you here. Before I wrap it up, is there any last questions regarding the investments that anyone was wondering about? Would want me to quickly just have a recap on it. Okay, let me just quickly check here. There we go. So we had a quick WhatsApp here from Jan. He and his wife is currently in London. So brilliant stuff, Jan. Thank you very much for joining. And yeah, so guys, to quickly recap, your three most commonly used investments is your tax-free investment, your retirement annuity, and then your discretionary investment. It's important to know the rules of each of these investments and to make 100% sure that it is in line with what you want to achieve. Um, by the way, I will be for the remaining period of lockdown. I will be going live every Tuesday at 9 a.m. So if there's any one of you that's got a specific topic that you want me to focus on, please send it through. I've got a very nice lineup coming for the following weeks, and we'll see. We might even continue this because I think it's very important that we all stay on top of what's happening. Please be on the lookout as well. I have been sending out our market updates, and we will be putting on short video clips where we'll be discussing the economic market update. You would have received 5 by now. If you are listening in and you are not an existing client of Harbor Wealth at this moment, please feel free to send me an email, and we will start distributing our newsletters and market updates to you as well. Everyone, please be safe. Stay in your homes. Let's finish this lockdown period. And once again, thanks for tuning in. Have a lovely day. Bye bye.